Okay, great. So it's recording. I'm also going to put in chat the link to the slide so everybody has a way to follow if you're interested. Where's chat? There's chat. Okay, great. So my name is Samhar Yohannes, and I am a STEM reference and instruction librarian. My contact information is on the slide, and I work with the following STEM departments that you see here. I have a colleague, another STEM reference and instruction librarian. Her name is Brianna Hughes, and she works with the following STEM departments. And her contact information is on the slide. And so just so I get a sense of who's in the room, can everyone in chat put your program/department, the year that you are? So are you a freshman, sophomore, first year, graduate student, etc.? And if you are currently working on a literature review. So I'll give everybody a moment. Bio, second year, welcome. Cybersecurity, person, welcome, welcome. GHS, that's one of my departments, welcome. Senior, neuroscience, INDS. Senior. You guys have a great department chair, INDS, Greenland. Okay, anybody else? Bio, another one, undergraduate, nice. Oh, a first year, you're industrious. And even though this question is not on the slide, but I just want to know, is there anybody in this room that's co-published yet? Any authors in the room? We tend to get a little few. Joe, yes, Joe is definitely, oh, great, Joe. I wasn't sure if you were here yet. So the person you just saw raise their hand is my colleague, Joe Lee. She works in the reference department along with me, and she's going to be managing chat. I'm going to let Joe actually introduce herself. So Joe, if you want to unmute and say hello.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. My name is Joe Lee. I'm actually a graduate student trying to get my master's in Library of Science. I'll be helping Samhar facilitate today's workshop. Please feel free to answer any or type in any questions you might have in the chat. I'll be monitoring chat and also putting any relevant links that Samhar mentions in the chat as well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Joe. Joe is great. It's a great resource. Okay, thank you. So like I said, I just wanted to know if there's anybody in the room that's published yet. If you haven't, you definitely will. Most definitely will. Okay, so what are we doing today? So we're going to be doing an introduction to what is a STEM literature review. Note that there is also an advanced version of this session, which goes in much greater depth in a lot of the things that we're going to be covering. And so in terms of like how to actually navigate these resources, how to create search strings, etc. But this is just, I would say, a preliminary get your toes dipped into what is a literature review for these STEM departments. If you plan to attend the advanced version, I would recommend first attending the intro, which you all are. Okay, so what are we going to be doing today? We're going to be talking about what is a literature review and then talking about the steps to actually writing a literature review. And to make sure that we're all on the same page, a literature review is both a summary and an evaluation of the literature. So it may be an evaluation/summary of some of the literature or all of the literature, but it is 100% a summary and an evaluation. Most students forget the part of the evaluation. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. And like I said, we're also going to be talking about the steps to writing a literature review. And so why do you write a literature review? There's a lot of reasons. One of them being, you have to, it's required, whether it's for an article that you're publishing or whether it's for a grant or a presentation. But for a more holistic approach, you write a literature review to explore the research topic, to figure out where are there sort of missing gaps in the literature so you can fit yourself in there. You figure out where do you and your research question exist within academia or the industry itself. And it's also a really great way for you to find other researchers. There's the I have to write a literature review, and then there's also, like I said, the larger picture. Where are the gaps? Where do you fit in? It's a great way for you to find other researchers, other colleagues, and it's a great way for you to actually just learn the topic. Okay, so what does a literature review look like sort of in real life? So it could be a standalone, which means that the entirety of the paper is a literature review. And so that can sometimes be presented as a systematic literature review. And I'm going to talk about what all the different types of literature reviews look like. But just know that a systematic literature review is basically where it's the entirety of the paper. It could be part of a larger piece of the research, so like a portion of the paper itself, or it can simply just be integrated, or it can be the prequel. And so the prequel basically means that when you think about an article and the way it's presented, it usually starts with an abstract, then an introduction. From the introduction, you get usually the literature review. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe, for sharing the links. And so with each of these three different examples, you can see how a literature review looks like, and it doesn't always look the same. So depending upon what is the final product, so the final product could be a grant, could be a presentation, could be a poster. Because even in the poster, you have to do, well, for some of the conferences, you have to do a literature review. Or for an article, it looks different. It's presented differently. And so you see here with these three different examples, simply just the location of the article, the literature review looks different. So again, the first example, it's the entirety. Second example, integrated. And third example, it leads. It's sort of all the way at the top. So how do you start? When it comes to a literature review, there are different pieces to it. There's the introduction. There's the analysis, like I said. There's the summary. Both are required. And then you also figure out where do you fit in within the topic itself. Situate yourself. And so, as I mentioned, there are different types of literature reviews. And so you'll see only here 3 different types, but there are more, but these are the 3 types that are most popular within the STEM world. So if you take a moment and think about the different articles that you've read within your various sort of classes, specifically your STEM discipline classes, you'll note that they usually follow within the 3 different categories. And so methodology, which means that you are only looking at articles based on their methods. You're comparing the methods of different studies. Does that make sense to everybody? Can I get a yay or a nay? Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're only selecting articles based on the methods that are being used. And that is what you're comparing and discussing and analyzing, etc. Systematic. This is where you collect everything on one particular topic. And so this will result in thousands of articles that you're going to be looking at. While the methodology, you're only looking at some and you determine which ones you want to include. Systematic is all. And theoretical, this is where you base it on a particular, like it's usually like a theory or a theme or a topic that you want to discuss. And so again, you collect some of the citations that you want to focus on that are based on, like I said, a single topic. So this is a single topic, some of the literature. This is all of the literature based on a topic. And this is some of the literature based on a particular method. Do these three different types of STEM literature review examples make sense to everybody? So as I said, there are others, but for the STEM, these are the three that we tend to use. And so depending upon your topic, depending upon your, what is the final product, you may find yourself, for instance, doing a systematic versus, theoretical or methodology. So think about for a second. If you're submitting a poster and the poster requires you to have a literature review, does it make sense for you to have a systematic literature review? Again, this is where you're studying all. This will require the most amount of work. This takes the longest to complete. This is incredibly labor intensive. It's very rewarding. Right, Rachel, you do not do this for a poster because it just doesn't warrant that type of level of sort of study. And so if you're submitting a poster, it lends itself to maybe doing a methodology or a theoretical. So think about which type of literature review is appropriate for the final product that you're creating. So again, whether it's you're submitting a grant, whether you are presenting a poster, or you are submitting a paper, and the paper only has a portion for the literature review. For those that have written a literature review, which type of literature review did you do? And can you let me know in chat? Nobody's written one yet? Joe, I can always count on you. What have you written so far?
I have written a literature review for one of my classes on AI research. And so another classmate and we worked with a faculty member, basically just poring over many, many AI research literature. And we would separate them out based on, like you said, methodology, also kind of like their hypotheses. And then at the end, we pretty much took all of the resources and literature that we had cited and broken into based on their like the parts of their studies. And we wrote like a comprehensive paper at the end, basically comparing them and also just going over the literature and seeing kind of the common thread that we're seeing in each of the studies. But yes, that's the one that I have written in class. I hope that that was the answer that you were looking for.
No, that was a good answer. I mean, what you indicated was the fact that you use kind of like a combination.
Exactly, yes. It was like a comparative analysis of all the literature that was on specifically AI and using it in information institutions like libraries. Yes, and that was like the particular lens and focus that we did on that literature review.
And how many, I'm just curious, how many citations did you look at? If you, because it sounds like you did a systematic and then you broke it down by like methodology and then theory, but like how many citations did you end up looking at?
Oh, there were so many. I want to say we had um, almost upwards, maybe close to 100 because like the two of us were kind of me and another classmate we were splitting the amount of um literature that we were trying to research and look through, and we were also trying to make sure we were cross-referencing and we weren't citing the same literature that we had already listed. So I want to say it was close to 100, probably 80, split between the two of us. Yes.
I actually would say that's a pretty low amount because I've seen where in systematic where it's in the thousands.
Yeah, I can't fathom that. That
Well, that's where you end up. That's why it's a project that you do with multiple people. It's extremely labor intensive, like, but it's done and it's done
mm,
regularly on this campus by our faculty in collaboration with students. And so, yes. But yeah, thank you, Joe.
sure.
Okay, so any questions so far? Are we feeling comfortable about knowing what a literature review is, which again is a summary and an evaluation? And then we know what the three different types of literature reviews are, at least for our discipline. And is there any question about when I say evaluation? Because that tends to kind of confuse sometimes some students. And so when I say evaluation, I'm talking about not necessarily like your personal opinion about that citation or slash article, but you can critique that article based on the sample size. Like the sample size was small, therefore you cannot make generalization. You can indicate that you could talk about the standard deviation, the fact that it was too low or it's too high or something along those lines. Like you can critique it. And usually the critiques are provided, to you in the weakness section of the paper. Because you know how in a paper it has like the limitations slash weaknesses and like strengths. That right there is the evaluation. So again, it's a summary and an evaluation. And then we know about the three different types of literature reviews. Okay, great. So let's talk about putting together this literature review. So um, it makes sense if you break it down into different components. And not only that, think about it in sort of three large categories. So first large category, plan your research ahead of time. Organize and code, because you're going to be working with many, many citations. And then complete your analysis slash create the report, write the report, along those lines. And I'm going to talk about each of these different sections. But again, remember, this is just the introduction. The advanced section will talk in greater depth. But let's dip our toe into this topic. First step, make a plan. Figure out why you're writing this literature review. So is it for a presentation? Is it for a grant? Is it for an article? Think about the deadline. Think about what the final product will be. Again, as that question that I asked you before, if you are presenting a poster and the conference wants you to present a poster, and does it make sense if the literature review section is systematic? No. It makes sense if it's more theory, if it's more methodology. So think about sort of what is appropriate for the way you organize it, how many citations, etc. Sort of answering these questions will help you guide you sort of figuring out which literature review to do. Brainstorm. This is actually my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts of the research process. It's sort of like figuring out what your research question will be and the way you go about it, I think it's actually really fun. And so one way I always tell the students that I'm working with is that go to some of the more prominent journals in your field and simply look through the table content. Look at the various sort of articles that are being published, and that will give you a clue of what are the questions that are being asked within your discipline. Another thing to do is that you go to one of the key databases within your discipline and type several keywords within the search box, and you'll see all of the citations that sort of match those keywords. And then again, by simply just reading the titles of those articles, you'll get a sense of what are the questions that are being asked within your discipline related to that topic. And if you really like a topic, or excuse me, if you really like an article because you like the research question that's being asked, based on the title, read the abstract and go no further than that. Just like I said, this will give you a great sense of like, what are the big questions happening within your field. This is honestly like, should be one of the best parts of the research. Second phase, once you have your topic, you need to start developing search terms. So these are keywords, these are synonyms that relate to your topic, because as the more synonyms, the more keywords that you have, the better search string that you can create. It is writing the appropriate search string will help you retrieve as many good citations as possible. And so when you are searching through our databases and you're searching through our journals, you want to pay attention to the list of subject terms or author keywords that they provide you, because that will help you generate all of those synonyms, all of those keywords that relate to your topic. And so if you look at this link that I'm going to share with you, hold on one second. So I'm going to get rid of this. So, okay. You'll see here a list of someone sort of documenting, I'll put it back here, documenting their search. And so that includes what keywords, what population, what inclusion and exclusion they had, what type of studies they looked at. It really helps to have it really clear and concise. So whether you want to put that in a Google Excel sheet or Microsoft Excel sheet or anything like, whatever works for you, but document it, be concise. And so you'll see here, population. They're only going to look at citations that have a certain population. Exposure, that deals more with the topic. The outcome, again, that deals with the topic. Types of study. Setting, and that doesn't apply to you. The year. And so are you all familiar with the concept of inclusion and exclusion? Okay, thank you, Rachel. So we have one person. So when I say inclusion and exclusion, inclusion, I'm telling the search engine when I am retrieving articles on my topic that I only want articles with this population. I only want articles from this date, and I'm only looking at articles that are English based. I'm excluding articles that are, older than this. I'm excluding articles that are non-English, and I'm excluding articles that have these keywords. And so it's becoming more common now when you write a literature review, especially if you do a systematic literature review, which is, again, everything, when you're looking at everything, that you indicate what your inclusions and exclusions are, what databases you search, etc. But right now, we're just talking about search terms. So we're going to have as many keywords that we can possibly can. And a great way to manage all of these keywords and synonyms for each of our, big topics is to create a Google Sheet or something along those lines. Document everything. When I work with my departments, I always tell students it is very presumptuous of you to assume that you know how a topic is indexed from database to database to database. So for me, if I'm doing research on the topic of heart attack, I may, type heart attack in Medline, but when I go over to Web of Science, I may need to try such terms such as cardiac arrest or myocardiac something. But the topic is indexed differently from resource to resource. Don't assume that you know how a topic is indexed just because you did it right in one database. So that's why it's important to document everything and have as many synonyms as you possibly can. So search strings. So this is what you write within the database in the search box. And you can do this within the front page of the library website, within the big search box that it opens up to. You can do this within the e-journals. You can do this within our databases. And so this is what you write in order to retrieve citations based on your search string. And so this, the example that most people are familiar with is using the Boolean operators. This is when you use and, or not. So and means that you want these two terms, the word before it and the word after it, they have to show up in all of your search terms. So or means that you're willing to accept the word before it or the word after it, one of those synonyms. And then not means that the word right after not cannot show up in any of your citations. And so you'll see here on the left-hand side, variations of Boolean operators all used in one search string, because you can use multiple operators, multiple search strategies in one search string. So you'll see here, we're using the or, we're using the and we're using the and again. And again, document everything. And so that means that I would indicate that this is the search string that I used within the database called Web of Science. And I would tell, or I would write in my Excel sheet, I used this search string and I had these inclusions and I had these exclusions. And I searched for it on this date. How to find your database. So that means how to find your resources, basically. So we have resources in many different places on our website. And I would say the strategy that I would go about is that the first thing that I would do is that I would utilize the front page search box. And so the front page search box is the most forgiving. It is the most generous. It is the most student-friendly resource on our website. So it's a great place to play. It's a great place to explore. It will forgive you in terms of if you have really bad search strings, if you have really strict search strings, if you have a topic that you're not really familiar with, this is the best place to start, because you will always find something on your topic related to whatever you wrote. From there, the next place that I would go to is called our research guide. And the reason why I would go to the next place is our research guide is that the front page, which we just talked about, it is our version of Google, but it doesn't search all of our resources. It only does a top layer search of our resources. So you'll always find something on your topic here, but you won't necessarily be doing a deep dive in all of your databases. So that's why after you're done with the front page, you want to go directly to your subject resources. So I would first go to our research guide, is where we grouped the top resources for each discipline in one location. So you'll see a bio research guide, you'll see a chem research guide, you'll see a research guide for each department. And the page that it opens up to is the most important page. So let me click. So this is our research guide. Actually, let me do it from the front page. So this is the front page that I was talking to you about, the starting point. But you only want to view this as a starting point because it doesn't search everything. But once you're done with the starting point, you go to research help and then research guide. This is where you'll find the most popular resources of your discipline in one location. And so, for instance, if I go to chem, biochem, my discipline, and I'll give everybody a moment to go to theirs. The list that it opens up to is the most important list, the list of the most popular resources of your discipline. You cannot go wrong doing research here. But this is not a complete list. This is just the most popular. If I want to see a complete list, then I go up to the top and you'll see a little breadcrumb. If I click on the breadcrumb, actually, no, excuse me, I'm wrong. If I want to see a complete list, I'm going to go and click on search and find. And now we're going to go and see the complete list of all the databases and the complete list of all of the journals. And so if I go and click on databases, here they are. Here is everything that we have that says that it's a database. But let's say that I'm not familiar with some of the smaller niche databases. I can simply come here and within the search box, type in health, a big generic topic, and all of the databases related to that big generic topic will be brought up. Or I can just type in, for instance, PubMed. And if we have PubMed, there it is. So those are our databases. The next place where I can find our resources is, again, go back to search and find. Now, instead of looking at databases, we're going to look at journals. So I'm going to click on journals. And I can search within the search box the name of a known journal. So for instance, Nature. And if we have Nature, you're going to see a link and you're going to see a way to access it. But let's say that I'm not familiar, again, with some of the key journals within my discipline. I'm just starting off. I don't know much. So let's say that instead of typing in a known journal, I type in a topic. And so again, the topic has to be big and broad. So again, I'm going to type in health, and all of the databases related to that big generic topic of health will be brought up. So if I do health, I go back to AI, Joe's topic. There they are. And again, if we have it, you're going to see a link. How's everyone feeling so far? So does it make sense the way to navigate our website to look for resources? So we start off with the big search box at the front, get a sense of, here it is. And from there, we move off to the most popular resources within our discipline. From there, if we still want to find the smaller niche ones, then we go directly to search a database or search a journal. So is there anybody in the room that's familiar with the resource called Web of Science? What about Science Direct? Okay, vaguely, Nick, okay. What about Science Direct? IEEE? Should get more hands with IEEE. Okay, okay. So as I said, these are some of the top resources of your discipline. There should be no question now in this room about where your databases are, where to locate journals within your discipline, because we all know where all the journals are and we know how to search the search box. If we don't know a key journal within our discipline, we type in a big generic word in the search box and it'll be brought up. Same thing with the databases. If we do not know what our main databases are, such as Web of Science, IEEE, PubMed, Medline, etc., then we know within the database search page, we simply just type in a big generic topic and all the databases related to the topic of health or environment or mathematics will be brought up. Okay, so let's transition. Passive searching. This is really important because particularly when you are doing a systematic literature review, which is searching all of the literature on your topic, you cannot do daily searches. It's impossible. And even if you're doing some of the other types of literature reviews, you're doing the ones that are based on methods, or you're doing the ones that's based on a topic, you should be able to set up your databases and your journals to do sort of automatic searches. So your databases allow you to set up alerts based on keywords, based on authors, or based on institutions. You know, something like let's sort of later on in your academic career. But all the databases that I just mentioned, you can do that. So it will require you to establish like you have to register, and once you register, it's pretty straightforward how to do like establish an alert. But you can establish an alert. Same thing within all of the journals. So your e-journals allow you to establish an alert. Again, you can have one every time there's a new issue that's published. You can have the table of content sent to you, or you can simply just have an alert that's saying, "Oh, like we've published," or you can have one based on keywords. And so that's a really great way for you to just like stay up to date, stay abreast on your topic with doing, hands not a lot of work. And so you can do the same thing with the front page search box, that you can also establish passive searching, and you can do that based on, again, keywords, authors, or a search string. You can also establish RSS feeds, which are nice with some of your databases and journals. So let's say that you've been doing this for a while. You've done active searching, where you've gone in and like you've gone through the databases and you've gone through the journals, and you've also established passive searching, which is what I have here on the left-hand side, where it's sort of automatic and you just, you wait for something to show up in your inbox because you've established alerts. When do you stop? When do you stop searching? Yes.
Just speaking from personal experience, I typically, I typically find out when it's time to stop searching or slowing down when I start seeing like either the same author or some of the same paper listed over and over again, which means like I'm kind of looping back around to my search from where I started. And maybe I haven't exhausted everything because I don't know if that's even possible, but like I'm getting there because there aren't any new results that are coming up in my search. And I've tried like the Boolean operators, and I've tried using different synonyms, and I've tried all the tricks to narrow down searching, but I'm still not getting anything new. That's probably time to either reevaluate and like change the way I'm searching, or it's if I've done it enough times where I feel like I've gotten enough resources, then that's kind of like a signal to me to stop searching.
Exactly. You're not seeing anything new. You're seeing the same authors and you're seeing the same papers again. If you're doing a systematic literature review, you're not seeing anything new because you've looked at everything. If you're doing a methodology or a theory, then you have nothing new coming up. You already have examples of the different theories that you want to talk about, or you already have examples of the different methodology that you want to talk about. So again, you're not seeing anything new. Okay, so in terms of reevaluating where we are, what we've done so far in terms of steps to writing a literature review, we've talked about how do you go about developing a research topic? And as I said, that's one probably like the best parts of researching, where you just get to just do casual reading, like just reading on a very top layer. So you're reading the titles, you're just reading the abstract, and whatever interests you, you sort of flag in terms of like, oh, that's an interesting research question based off the title. That's an interesting sort of research topic, again, based off the title. And if you really like the title, then you go and read the abstract. It's very low commitment for you, but again, it's enjoyable because you're just doing surface layer reading. Next, you move and you start sort of documenting and creating a search string. And so you think about what are the different ways, what are all the different keywords? Think of as many synonyms. Think about what inclusion and exclusion you want to have. Select your databases, select your journals. We know where they're located. Writing your search string. Next step. And so for the organizing the code and complete analysis, that's more for the advanced portion of it. And we'll talk about that during the upcoming advance. Joe, do you know when the advance one is going to be posted?
Yes, it's going to be on October 6th at noon.
Okay,
And I
great.
can put the link in the chat.
Thank you. That should give everyone enough time to kind of play around and get familiar with the first 6 steps. Really come into, if you're going to attend the next workshop, like really get familiar, like I said, with the first 6. So we can just really dive in and talk about like the next sort of 7 through 10. But on a surface layer, once you have your citations and you're completed gathering your citations, you need to start organizing them for your literature review. And so it doesn't matter if the literature review is the entirety of the paper or a portion of the paper, whether it's integrated or whether it's the prequel. Usually they're organized in 3 different ways. These are the 3 most popular ways within the STEM world. And so chronological, thematic, and again, we go back to methods. So chronological, that means that if you have 5 citations that you only want to utilize for your literature review, you organize them simply by the publication date. So whether it's the oldest to the newest or the newest to the oldest. Thematic, if you are basing your literature review based on a theme or a topic or issue, then again, if you only have 5 citations, the first paragraph talks about topic number 1. Second paragraph talks about topic number 2. And then the third paragraph talks about topic number 3. You organize your literature review based around the topic. And so topic A, topic B, and topic C. And then you group all of the citations that fall under topic A over here. And then you group all of the citations that fall under topic B over here, and etc. And then last, methods. If you are talking about 3 methods or 4 methods, it doesn't really matter how many, but I'm just going to stick with 3. If you're talking about 3 methods, then again, all of the citations that have method number 1, you group over here in paragraph number 1. All of these citations that have method number 2, they're in paragraph number 2. And then all of the citations that have method number 3 fall over here in paragraph number 3. Does that make sense to everybody? You want to make this as easy as possible for your readers. Your readers are other people within your discipline. This is what they're accustomed to. So give them what they're accustomed to. Don't, like, this is not the time to be original in some sense. Like, organize this in a way that they are familiar with, that makes sense to them. And so, again, depending upon, your topic, you may find yourself leaning towards organizing your literature review around publication date, or thematic, or method, etc. Okay, so some odd ends. We have workshops that are dedicated to citation software. A citation software is where it houses all of your citation in one centralized location. For master's and PhD students, I strongly recommend that you attend one of the citation software workshops, or, if you prefer to just do it on your own, that's fine too, but like that you work with a citation software. And so here at UMBC, we promote 2 citation software. EndNote, and I don't know if Zotero has been taught already. Yes, Zotero has, I think maybe Zotero. So we promote 2 citation software, EndNote and Zotero. However, there are other citation software. They all basically do the same thing, but get familiar and utilize one. If you're going to use one, whichever one in your department / whatever one that your IP uses. So if the IP in the lab that you're working with uses Zotero, that's the one you need to use. If he or she uses EndNote or Mendeley, that's the one you need to use, because that is the only way that you guys can share folders. And you need to do that if you are going to be doing group papers, etc. We also have a number of workshops. And so these workshops are, we have graduate oriented workshops. We have workshops that are open-ended, open to the whole campus. For the graduate ones, they're not limited to graduate ones. We just sort of tend to promote them more towards graduate. But if you're an undergraduate and you feel the content, you're interested in the content, please come. We're not going to exclude you. Okay. So just to let you guys know, I will be sharing a copy of the slides and a copy of the recording after this session. We really would welcome feedback. So thank you, Joe, for putting the link to the feedback. There's lots of places to get help. And so I would say the easiest place to get help is to contact your subject librarian. And as you saw, let me go back. here are your two subject librarians. There's Brianna, and she has the following. And there's me, and I have the following. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to stop recording. Stop again.